Hello, I'm Bonnie Salomon, and I'd like to welcome you to Wise Transformations Beltane 2022 celebration. Thanks so much for joining us. We're delighted you could be here. I am usually here in person, but am in the midst of a gargantuan renovation and move. And so I'm recording this because I certainly did not want to miss an opportunity to welcome in this marvelous time of the year and to be with all of you. So we'll get started. This is the first thing that we would like to do is to call in sacred space to honor the fact that we are all together, whether together in person on Zoom or just listening and watching this recording. It's a beautiful time to just think about the connection that we have to all the amazing people in our lives. And energetically, we kind of call them in along with sacred space and spend a few moments in contemplation of what is ours in this beautiful world. So if you will, just plant your feet. Take 3 deep breaths. And connect with your vision of Mother Earth in this most beautiful, rapturous time of the year, when in our neck of the woods, things are blooming, they're exquisitely beautiful, and Mother is showing us all the amazing gifts that she has as we begin to launch into a growing season. Beautiful time when we bring things together. So we ask the earth to honor us with the continuance of the abundance that comes from earth to nourish us, body, mind, and soul. Calling in the element of water, the emotional realm, so that we may feel all the love that's in our hearts, so that we may enjoy a lightness of being that maybe we really needed after a long winter hiatus. Welcoming in the energy of fire, our passion, which we're going to talk about very much at this time of the year. And we're going to talk about air. And we're going to give gratitude to air for the breath that we breathe, for our thoughts, for our imagination, all of our thoughts and wishes, and the spring breezes that flow in our windows, finally open after a long winter. So beautiful. And we want to call in, of course, the element of spirit, the void, the God of your understanding, whatever that happens to be. Take just a moment and make that beautiful connection. And with gratitude for all that is ours, we say thank you, aho, and awin. So Beltane, what a fabulous time of the year. It is a Gaelic festival, most commonly held on May 1st, somewhere right around halfway of spring equinox and summer solstice. That's what cross-quarter days are. Cross-quarter days come between the major points of solstices and equinoxes and designate a turning of the seasons. It's beginning to turn towards the next major solstice, in this case, the summer solstice. So historically, Beltane has been observed to Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. It's very much a Celtic holiday in the traditions that we celebrate come from this area of the world. But all over the world, people celebrate Beltane. It is just a glorious time of the year, and it's a time when all the juices get flowing. We're going to be laying groundwork for you as you move into this time of Beltane. Its celebration and rituals have been about fertility and fire and passion and really bringing forth life. And they do this, the Celts started this in preparation for a really abundant harvest, because need to get excited, to help the earth get excited and honor it, so that what we find in the growing season is abundant and we can reap all the magnificence that Mother Earth has given us. So Beltane was first celebrated in the 10th century. And they lit fires, and we'll talk more about that later, and you'll see a short video talking about that. And it was for protection, so that nothing from the outside could harm them. These fires would continue to roar so that no beings or energies could come in and really hurt them. Now, it's considered that at Samhain, that the veils between the worlds are very thin and we can communicate well with the other side. Well, guess what? This is another time when the veils are very thin, and we as humans can more easily communicate with the other side, with those who have passed on, who wish to give us their wisdom. So it is, besides just a fabulously festive time, it's an introspective time and a time to connect with those who have gone on. Oh, but Beltane, what a time of revelry and sensuality. This is a time of passion, and you certainly can't be passionate without the stirrings that come with this time of year, springtime and frolicking, being outdoors finally, casting off the garb of winter. And nature passes along to us at this time of year a lot of sensual and sexual energy. Now, this does not have to be expressed in sexual acts, but in a sensuality of appreciating everything that is being offered to us at this time. This is about a young god who emerges into manhood and is in search of his beautiful goddess. They fall in love, lie among the grasses and blossoms, and unite. So we can do this with the feminine and masculine parts of ourselves, bringing them together to unite, to make us whole. This isn't a time, just a time for lovers. This is a very special time for you as well, as a whole being. So keep that in mind. So I'd like you to stop the recording now. And because we talked about the veils between the worlds being thin, and because this is a time of sensuality and sexuality, stop the recording. Take a moment and receive a message from the spirit world. Journal with it. Take all the time you need. This is going to be an unusually special message. So do take the time. This recording will be a little shorter than our normal get-togethers, and that's fine because it's going to give you time to consider this and to journal, and there'll be some more journal questions later on. welcome back. I hope that you received something meaningful, juicy, and something that will help you move forward into this season. So we're going to talk a little bit about Beltane rituals. And this is a time that a lot of weddings are performed. We've been talking about this passion thing. And many pagan weddings take place at this time of the year. A lot of hand fastings, the bringing together of the man and the woman, or two men and two women. What's so interesting about the hand fasting is that the hands are tied together to symbolize binding two lives, or it can be a traditional betrothal for a year and a day. So it's kind of like, let's try this out. Let's see if this works. And perhaps that's a really wise thing to do, to make sure to understand what you expect from a relationship and what the partner expects from the relationship. And when there's two of you and they come together, a third entity is created. At the end of that year and a day, next year, the day after Beltane, that couple can decide to stay together or to terminate the relationship. And how beautiful that there would be no recriminations, that they can cleave from one another, go their separate ways, and be fine. And know that it was a beautiful experiment, that it was sanctioned by whatever is the higher power, and a chance to get to know your partner. So beautiful, beautiful ritual. I love this picture, had to use it. The goddess ritual honors the feminine while also celebrating our female ancestors. Combine the passion of a roaring bonfire with the love of the May Queen and the god of the forest, and you've got a recipe for a fantastic ritual. So to me, this so represents the May Queen, the forest, the god of the forest, and bringing them together. Once again, we're looking at a time of abundance. And just to think about something that I mentioned earlier, and that's uniting the parts of yourselves. It can be done in any number of ways. A spa day for yourself, which I recently had, which was pretty amazing, brought the parts of myself together, or just a walk in the woods. Any ritual that speaks to you of the coming together of the parts of who you are. Extraordinary. So another way to celebrate, another ritual, is to celebrate with yellow flowers and fire. Certainly that will stir the passions along the way. There are particular foods that you can find online that are very traditional Celtic meals or snacks. Not sure about the combination of eggs, buttermilk, and oatmeal coddle. However, maybe if it sits overnight, I don't know. But oatmeal cakes, how fabulous. Certainly those could be made very healthy and will remain in the tradition of Beltane. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share for a moment because I do want to show a particular video that I found that I thought you all might enjoy about the rituals of Beltane. So let's see if we can get that going. We'll see what happens. Whoops. Let me. All right. We're going to try it another way. Bear with. That doesn't want to do it either, but we are going to do this. So I'm going to stop the recording just long enough to get the video up, and I'll be right back. So here we are. This is 5 pagan traditions. We're going to get this video going and see where we go from there. I think you'll enjoy this.
If you want to eat healthy and feel your best, you gotta try cassava. Cassava is the world's
abundance and general hedonistic frenzy. Ancient European peoples were well known for their passionate seasonal holidays. Their lives were inextricably linked with nature, and so as the seasons came each year, they would hold celebrations honoring the gods and recognizing the new gifts and challenges that the months ahead had to offer. But perhaps the most fun and unique holiday was the summer festival of bright fire. Beltane or Beltane is one of the 4 Gaelic seasonal holidays and marks the arrival of summer. For thousands of years, Gaelic people in Scotland, Ireland and the Isle of Man have ushered in the good weather with remarkable celebrations, and it plays a big role in the region's mythos. In the 11th century Irish manuscript Labor Gabala Éireann, or the Book of Invasions of Ireland, it records that the first settler on Irish shores arrived on Beltane. It was also supposedly the day that the famed Tuatha Dé Danann were defeated in battle. This is Ancient Origins, and today we'll be exploring 5 amazing pagan traditions. This is how the ancients celebrated Beltane. Subscribe for more fascinating historical videos like this one. Number 1. Cattle Spell. Almost any Beltane celebration would have contained a great emphasis on ritualistic fire. In fact, the name of the holiday means Fire of Bel in Gaelic, Bel being a Celtic sun god. This was partially a symbol of the summer's passionate nature, but also had a real important function to the Gaels. They believed that these rituals would protect them from both physical and supernatural harm, like disease, dark magic, or the wrath of vengeful gods. They carried out rituals to protect their crops during the harvest season and encourage their animals to stay healthy. One example of such a ritual is described in the medieval Irish manuscript Sanas Cormac. According to the text, the Gaelic druids would light 2 fires while saying spells and incantations and herd the tribe's cattle between the 2 flames. This was supposed to protect the livestock from illness, which was vital as cows were unbelievably important to the survival of Gaelic society. Number 2. Sacrifices and burnt offerings. Another ritual was described by the historian Geoffrey Keating, who said that in medieval Ireland each Beltane, the people would gather at the hill of Ishnok and burn an animal sacrifice to the god Bel. Medieval texts speak of a great Gaelic hero lighting a ritualistic fire on Ishnok that supposedly burned for 7 years straight. Modern excavations at the hill have since found charred bones showing just how real these rituals were. The act of giving up a sacrifice for the gods in return for a bountiful harvest seems to have been a normal part of the Beltane celebration. Number 3. Appeasement of the fairies. It was common practice in ancient times for Gaelic people to light ritualistic bonfires and dance around them in a frenzied state. The Gaels believed in a race of magical people named the Aesci, who were like spirits or fairies, and often they would carry out fire rituals like this to placate them and prevent these creatures from sowing death and destruction on the tribe. Many scholars speculate that these beings were holdovers from more ancient nature spirits and gods. They were thought to have terrible destructive power, and so keeping them on side was very important for the ancient clans. Number 4. Courtship and Marriage. It was customary for Beltane rituals to include courting. The tribe's youth who had reached marriageable age would spend the day gathering blossoms and flowers from the woods and meadows to attract a partner during the night's festivities. When the night came, the young men and women would pair up and find their match as they would today at a party, and would often be married either on the spot or in the coming summer season. Number 5. The Maypole. The Maypole was a tall wooden pole raised up during Beltane and other northern European folk traditions. They often would be seen adorned with garlands symbolizing growth and rebirth, and observers would dance around it in a ritualistic ceremony. There are many theories and ideas as to its exact purpose and meaning. Some suggest that it may be phallic imagery supposed to represent the manhood of a fertility god, and that the dance was to harness divine fertility and potency for the coming season. This idea was suggested by both Sigmund Freud, the world-famous psychoanalyst, and Thomas Hobbes, a father of modern philosophy. Historian Ronald Hutton, however, says that there is no evidence for this idea. Another theory states that Germanic and Norse pagans may have started this tradition as a symbol of their sacred trees, as they tended to venerate plants such as Thor's oak and Yggdrasil, the world tree that connects the 9 realms. Whatever the case may be, the Maypole has been recorded as a symbol of Beltane from as far back as the 13th century and is believed to be much older. All these traditions add up to a very mystical, esoteric, and fascinating religious holiday, which tells us much about how the ancients viewed the world and the cyclical nature of life. The holiday of Beltane is even celebrated by some today as a joyous and bright occasion of revelry and feel-good summer memories. This has been Ancient Origins. Subscribe for more fascinating historical videos like this one. As always, thanks for watching.
Pretty fascinating, pretty fascinating. I think, isn't it amazing what can fit into 6 minutes of video? Certainly some different perspectives about the ancients in regard to Beltane, especially the idea that their gods and their goddesses really did control their harvests, how they lived their lives, keeping everyone safe, keeping their cattle safe, coming between the fires, having the cattle walk between the fires to make sure that that they were protected. Just some really, really interesting stuff. So let us go back to where we were. So I want you to take several minutes. I'm going to stop the video, or ask you to stop the video here after I've concluded on these questions, and really give some consideration, some contemplation to these 3 questions, because Beltane, moving into the most abundant times of the year, is a time for you to really examine what's in your heart. What has the winter and the early spring taught you? And then go on and answer these journal questions. Certainly leave this up on the screen. So think about what has been suppressed. We have spent 2 years very much in hibernation, if you will, very much to ourselves. Some of us have been doing more things in the outer world, others not so much. But all this time, our energy has been building and building and building towards a coming out, if you will, into a new world, because let's face it, the last couple of years has changed things for us, changed really pretty much everything. So really examine your inner being, your essence, your heart, your soul. What passions have you been suppressing? What have you felt you were unable to do, either because of the pandemic or the side effects, if you will, the inability to be with people. Perhaps you were financially strapped during this time. But what's coming up for you? What passions have you been suppressing? And over this time, your heart has probably longed to share some thoughts, some feelings, and perhaps you were not able to do so for whatever reason. What is it now that your heart wants to share? Do you have a new idea of how to be in service? Do you wish to help out in a different way than you ever have before? What is it that you may not even have admitted to yourself that your heart wants you to know? So consider that question. And then, what are you willing to plant, nurture, and see through the harvest? Now, this is really critically important at this time to consider, okay, there's still time to plant, and really deep dive into yourself. Can I stay with this, whatever I have planted? Whether it's a physical planting, an emotional, whether it's a business idea, a relationship. If you plant it, are you willing to stay with it? Stay with it to the end and see it through to the harvest. This is your creation. Creation of who you are, what you do. What is it that you are willing to stick with all the way through the growing season and present either to yourself, to the world, to friends, to family? What is it? So stop the video here. Take a good amount of time and answer these questions. And then I'll be back. So I hope you got some really juicy answers to these questions. And I would invite you to share them with someone you know and trust, someone who has always been there for you, or maybe it's a new friend that you're learning to trust. But by all means, again, share. This is a time of year to let your passions be known. I hope you'll do that. So how are you going to celebrate Beltane? I think maypoles are a great idea. And, you don't have to do a big one that's 6 or 8 feet high. You can do a small one, a small pole of some sort, and get some string and actually make yourself a maypole. They're so festive and they're so much fun. But if you're really ambitious, you get a large pole, Home Depot or wherever. Better yet, out in the woods, some long pole, and get some friends together and play around the maypole. Super, super. A few years back, I went to a housewarming on May 1st that actually had a maypole. It was just fabulous fun. And I want to encourage you to cue up your favorite song. Let yourself go, let your body move and dance your passion. Let it come up, let the fire burn. Let yourself really go and dance, dance, dance. You will find it's going to release some stored up energy and it's going to get you going, get you moving on the plan that you want to nurture and see through to the end. So as we conclude, really want to thank you so much for being with us. Beltane is something very dear to my heart. I get very excited. I get very ready to jump into something new. And I want to say thank you for being with the recording. I hope there were some thoughts in there that would help you on your way to really celebrating this time of year. And in closing Sacred Space, I'd like to thank the elements for their never-ending gifts to all of us: earth, water, fire, air. We are so, so blessed. And thank you, Spirit, God of each person's understanding, for the way in which you always hold us gently in your arms, and that you always have our back, and that we finally perhaps understand that things don't happen to us, they're happening for us. They're happening for us in a very, very big way. Thank you all for coming. We are wisetransformation.com, and we hope we'll see you soon. It's summer solstice. I hope to see you in person. Meanwhile, make the most of spring. Take good care of yourself, and we'll see you soon. Bye.